Okay, this is very hard for me to do such a continuous talk because I forget the last part where I was talking a number and continue the thread. So part of my what part of what I needed to do in whichever case I was helping somebody to awaken to anything or to awaken at all, depending if it was requested, it was suggested, is to identify the soul group to which I'm talking to, because every person works within their own soul group from which they get the sense of identity and the sense of self worth and or relative position in the society at all, because different groups um, have different access to different materials, to different power in the power structures. Some of them will be much higher than the others. Some of them will be lower and they will not know that they are lower. Maybe they will feel it. Anyway, but my twin flame and I, we belong to a group that is never really discussed, is never really identified. And I'm standing with this problem for perhaps, I don't know, maybe 30 years that I'm carrying this like a big secret because I know it and hardly anybody think about it all. Anyway, I work from this perspective. I see the person, I know what type they belong to, and sometimes I'll know which star they came from. In some cases, I will know where they are positioned within their groups, uh, where they are positioned in the group that I'm speaking about. My twin flame, uh, or the third density being in a special group that is unidentified, unmentioned, that it has a very low self-esteem usually, with sparks of super egos or especially talented persons, people that also occurs. This different in DNA or soul group, it doesn't tell the the virtual side of person. Person can be highly virtual and very highly intelligent, regardless of what their affiliation or what their groups are. Still, they would usually copy into their group behaviors, and they will behave in a certain, in you know, within a certain allowed, not allowed, a certain shape of ambitions, under certain oppressive um, parasites. Not all people are, I mean, angelic, they usually been under uh, reptilians or other groups anyway than the type that I'm talking to about, which I will call uh, just, I think I'll call them light beings, although they have different colors and not so many of them are filled with light as you would expect, but they are light beings. They are not structured like angelics are. They don't. Uh, they usually don't have a life plan. They don't have the ability, belief, the worth, self worth to even think about it, a life plan. And struggling between forces that are inherited in. It's like the opposite between uh, oppression and the small dreams that the people can still dream in this condensed this trap in this prison. People still have some sparks of divinity, or some spark of hope. So they live in between the small parts of hope, which they're in their consciousness. The sparks are the highest form of light that they can see. The sparks, and so it's very hard for them to to even adapt the common angelic structure of science, and it's usually unless they are scientists, they will not be inclined to even see this material because it will look to them so far away. So there will be lights, natural lights, more like animals sometimes, more innocent, um, very intuitive. I call them sometimes me myself. I call them the Etruscs were people who resided in Italy before the Roman conquered Italy many thousands years ago. So the Etruscs, they believed in things like sacred places, sacred stones, sacred trees, sacred mountains, and so on. They were spiritual, and they were very, I call it, perhaps they had authority, like they felt that they had authority over the weather because they could read in the clouds what weather is coming, and they could read in the lightning what would be happening tomorrow. So they were prophesizing based of natural phenomena, and they were also what uh, Ken Wilber will call the color. I think we call it purple. It's under the red. You have the purple and the red and so forth. So the purple is the beginning. The humans as they're beginning to form without much knowledge about nothing, just knowing the earth, knowing the culture uh, around them, the nature about them, and interpreting, using it as a as a symbol, as a chord, as a means to see the future, and what were they planning? I guess they were planning at least the seasons, the growth of the season, the agricultural growth. They could see perhaps disasters, natural disasters. They could see some stuff that they were interested. But this, if I wanted to describe the type that my twin flame is, and myself as well, we range from. It's very diversified in terms of dimensions, conscious dimensions of the individuals. But originally, basically, we are of this group where we we have very little span of I call it patience. Very little patience. It's very like animal like a cat. It's like very fast. Not all of us are like this naturally, but in relationship between us, this what comes up is very evident. Okay, so I stop it now and I try to continue